Hello, good afternoon. I'd like to introduce the Chief Creative Officer of Infinite Rabbit Holes, Mr. Alex Lieu. So today, we're going to talk to you about going down the XR rabbit hole, talking about making content. So we're experience makers. We represent an XR studio here in Pasadena, California, and we have been working in the games and entertainment field for multiple decades. Our team has an incredible amount of experience. Everything from theme park attractions. If you're visiting and have a chance, please definitely visit Disneyland. You can see some of our work there. But we've actually created themed entertainment experiences all over the world. We've created alternate reality games, traditional games, theme park attractions that include gaming, mobile games, and all types of experience in between. So the great thing about our team is that we've had the opportunity to reach out to audiences in the millions and have a deep, really understanding of what experience design is. So we'll talk about that more in a minute, but let's also talk about some of the games and experiences that we've done.
Yeah, I mean, some of you guys will be familiar with at least a few of these names. But yes, our team is an incredible group of talented programmers, writers, designers, game designers, traditional entertainment people. And so we've all worked for some of the biggest brands in entertainment on the biggest properties. And so, you know, this is just a very, very short list of things that our team has been involved with. But everything from, if you guys remember the Lenovo Star Wars challenges, Jedi challenges, we'll talk about that a little bit later, to, you know, everything from building online worlds to mobile games, we've done it. And we've also been trusted with the world's biggest brands, right? So as you're seeing here, you know, everything from Halo to Frozen to the Muppets, our team has really been experiencing and they've done it all. And that is, it becomes very relevant in the space that we're talking about today. So specifically, I was very impressed when I met my colleague here, Susan Bonds, because she was one of the main creative leads behind the Indiana Jones adventure. So if any of you guys have gone on that, to me, it still holds up as one of the best rides on Disney property.
So what's so interesting, and one reason why to look back at something like the Indiana Jones adventure is to think about this marriage of experience making, storytelling, and technology. Really, the whole idea behind the Indiana Jones adventure was to bring a movie to life and give you a role in it, give you a part in it. And when you think about, you know, creating an experience in a theme park, you know, a lot of attention to detail is given to create those sets and environments that were in the movie. But you also have to have something, some kind of technology platform that gives you the feeling that you got when you watched the movie. So we actually created a proprietary ride system. It was so sophisticated. We made it look like a Jeep, but it's actually a motion base with 6 degrees of motion on top of, you know, a moving vehicle that's connected to a track and can go either way on side the track. I feel like it's riding on a road. But the reason I bring this up is because when we first got introduced to that vehicle, we were so enamored with all the feature sets of that vehicle. But really, when you get down to experience making, technology really should be invisible. So for people who go on that attraction, they feel like they're on a Jeep, they're going through, their life's in danger, there's snakes, there's bugs. And so that can kind of translate to what we're talking about now with XR.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point that you're making, right? Because I remember when the attraction opened, And there was all this mystique around, hey, there's different paths that you can go on, and you never know which one. And there's thousands of combinations in which the ride could go, and the vehicle might move, and the sets that you go through. And the reason why that's so relevant right now is that at the end of the day, you guys realize that most people didn't notice, right? So it's even as cool as it was, and especially in the concept stage as cool as it was, this idea of over-designing is something that we really have to look at in this space, right? And what are those key moments? And what are these worlds that we're building? And so that transitions us to one of the projects that you did after you left Disney, right? Which is, if everybody remembers Myst, the online version of Myst.
So in thinking about how to translate a very popular PC game into a massively multiplayer online game that has a persistent world, one of the interesting aspects of that was really thinking about not really grinding or leveling up or killing things, but like how could you really integrate a story, and like how could you integrate the clues of a civilization that had been there for many, 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 many thousands of years, and allow the players to discover it, and allow the players to discover characters, and to discover civilization, and to discover new worlds. And so I think that this is an interesting, and massively multiplayer games in general are interesting in the sense of when we started out and we were building fully virtual, real-time 3D worlds, we were building all of this, doing a tremendous amount of world building, and then players were just zooming by it because they had a mission. They were trying to do something. They were trying to look. They were on a quest, or they were looking for something specific. So that just kind of lets you know that experience design is so important. You have to give people clues on where they should go, what they should be looking for, and also when you're developing, you can't develop everything at 100%. You need to understand where people's focus will be. So that leads us to another project, which actually our head of product development worked on, which was for Disney and Lenovo, called Jedi Challenges. And I think this is a great project to look at, because it brings up an important aspect of XR that I think can be really instrumental for developers who are thinking about making XR content, and that's the idea of wish fulfillment. In Disneyland, you might run into a character and you could have a Jedi sword fight with them, but what about having a sword fight as a Jedi in your own home where you get to fight Kylo Ren or Darth Vader? There's definitely a huge wish fulfillment aspect that by bringing digital content together with physical realities that you can now bring into XR development.
Yeah, I think this is a key point that we'll talk about later, too. But what I think is interesting about what we're purposely talking about and showing you guys today is that you'll see as we go on this idea of what does immersion mean, right? So we start with physical spaces. We talk about completely immersing somebody so that when they physically step into an environment, everything's different and they're living the movie, essentially, right? And then we go back to Uru, Ages Beyond Myst, and we're going, okay, well, what does that total VR version of that look like, right? What is, or not even VR, the online version where we're looking at it on the screen, and now all of a sudden we're starting to talk about augmented reality. And in addition to the wish fulfillment, in terms of being developers and what does this mean and the experience of our team, we many times, and I think a lot of people here would understand this, that the learning that you do, that you get from trying to make projects and just putting it out there is invaluable, right? It's, things never, ever turn out exactly the way that you design them and what you plan. And, let's face it, we're really in this new frontier of technology, right? We're really looking at this. For a lot of us, we've seen different versions of AR. We've seen VR for a long time, right? But the general public hasn't. And so the data, the research of how people actually interact, how people use these things, it's still very early on. And so the best way to test that stuff is really build stuff and put it out there. And so sort of the bridge between these worlds, our team has worked on, we defined a genre of gaming, and it is referred to as alternate reality games. And so it's a different kind of AR. But the idea is that we take a story, we break it into thousands of shards of evidence, and then we plant it out everywhere from digital online websites to scavenger hunts all around the world to huge installations, right? And so here we did this huge project for Disney where we led up to the beginning moments of the film Tron Legacy, right? And we like showing this example because it really is about jumping from real world to the grid, right? Which is what we're all trying to do right now. And in that, we were doing pop-up events, at Comic-Con. We were doing, scavenger hunts around the world where people were finding pieces, looking for Kevin Flynn, and trying to piece together that backstory. And so there was a real merging of digital and physical brick-and-mortar realities, but that is what really led us into the idea of augmented reality, because from a physical location point of view, even from a theme park point of view, there's only so much you can do, right? You have to actually be there. You have to be in the actual physical place. Where the idea of XR is that now we can bring that experience to you, and so now it's our challenge to figure out how creative we can be doing that.
So another alternate reality game that we did was a bridge movie between Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. And this was important in the sense of we really learned a lot from our players, and there were like 11 million players in almost every country around the world, that they really want to be immersed in these worlds. They want to have characters that they interact with, that they love, a property that's beloved. They want to see environments. They want to have some agency. So I think that all of these experiences collectively have led us to what is our current mission, which is what we're here today to talk about, which is we want to take all of our decades of experience and lead the XR content revolution. And when one of the questions that I just got asked downstairs in an interview was, after all of this experience in gaming and theme parks and entertainment, why would you choose, mixed reality or XR and, all these emerging platforms that are coming out? And I think, well, one big reason is that now we're going to be able to do experiences that we could only dream of before, and that you can do them in your own home. It's easy to kind of pack up the family, or maybe it's not easy, to pack up the family and travel 3,000 miles and go to Walt Disney World. And you get a once-in-a-lifetime experience. But what if you could have that experience in your very own living room? And that's what we really started to think about, is like, how do we take, original and beloved, stories, characters, properties, and give you an experience right where you are that really is that wish fulfillment of being in, a game or an experience that comes to life around you. It surrounds you. You're immersed in it. And so that's why we've started focusing on mixed reality.
Yeah, we also think that in terms of, I'll just move on here. So we all know that mixed reality is exploding, right? So at this conference, there is a ton of content makers, there's a lot of hardware makers, there's a lot of innovative solutions, right? We've been talking to everybody from education to the medical field to hardware manufacturers, and these are just some of the big players, right, that we're seeing here. But there's all kinds of hardware headset manufacturers downstairs.
Yes.
There's software solutions. There's all these things, and not only is the market exploding, but in the next 5 to 10 years, maybe even sooner, we firmly believe, like many of you guys in this room, or many of you out there watching the stream, right, that these devices are going to change the way that we work, the way that we connect with each other, how we do gaming, how we consume entertainment, right? So for any of you guys who have been in some of these headsets and have seen some of the content that is out there, we're just scratching the surface, right, of being able to be immersed in these worlds, watching this media, looking at this landscape of where entertainment is going to go. One of the things that we've sort of seen over our decades of experience is that, what it takes for mass adoption, because if we look at these things right now, I mean, probably the biggest player right now is Meta, because it's been around for the longest, right? But we're still looking at the Apple Vision Pro is really exciting. These other platforms are very, very exciting. But the adoption is still pretty low. I mean, in terms of like coming from the world of Disney and Warner Brothers and all those places, when we're looking at 4-quadrant films or experiences or theme parks, right, we are looking for broad audience. And the average family, even though we talk about augmented reality and VR all the time, when we started putting stuff out there and we started doing focus groups and we started playing with content, what we realized is that a lot of people have no idea what augmented reality is, right? I mean, with the exception of the great work that Niantic did and Pokemon Go and that huge craze, most people really haven't seen it. Their extent of their knowledge and they don't even think of it as AR, right? It's image recognition, but they scan a menu, a QR code to get a menu, right? And so we realize that there's this huge challenge. And for us, what we've seen the adoption of platforms really is about content, right? So it's either going to be productivity tools that's going to help make our life better, or it's going to be entertainment that gives us a reason to experience and immerse ourselves in different ways, right? And so that brings us to how we approach things and the idea of the promise of XR. So what does that mean? So the first thing is that it transports us, right? It has the ability to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, what Alex was saying is that there's a very famous Walt Disney quote that says you can design and build the most wonderful place in the world, but it takes people to make that dream a reality. So I think we're here at the AWE conference, which I know is celebrating a milestone, but for a lot of people, as Alex mentioned, they don't really know what it is. So we need people to come in and make this a reality in several ways, right? And so I think one of the biggest promises of XR is the idea that it can take you to both real and fantastical places, real and imaginary. And that's what we're doing here at Infinite Rabbit Holes. It's like, you may be, for many reasons, unable to leave your location, or you're just, you want to get away or escape or really get the feeling of what it's like to go walk in the shoes of other people. And the idea that XR can transport you to these places is really very inviting. And I think going back to all the big, tech developers and engineers that are working on this platform, because it's still emerging and it's in early stages, they're super excited about the feature set, right? But as experience makers, we should be really focused on, well, what is the audience looking for? What are they yearning for? What is it that they couldn't do before? And the idea that these headsets can really take you to places that you've never been and allow you experiences that you couldn't have before is very enticing.
Yeah, and when we talk about the fact that it has the ability to transport us, there's the sort of the obvious kind of things, right? Like, oh, we can go visit the Vatican, we can go to Machu Picchu, right? Places that, unless we're going to pay lots of money to go travel the world, and some people are more adventurous than others, a lot of people don't get a chance to see. But we mean beyond that, right? So yes, we can jump into our fictional worlds of beloved characters and IP that we identify with, right? But transporting us also means that we can transport our frame of mind.
Right.
Right? We can, if we figure out what emotional connections we can make, what the power of storytelling is that we've learned from all of our decades of experience, like straight from Walt Disney, right? Is how are we connecting with people, and also the fact that we can transport ultimately into each other's spaces, into each other's home, right? Instead of, we look at the promise of mobile and it's completely changed our world. We see the same thing with AR and the idea of how can it bring us together, how can it connect us? And then, the next piece of it is immersion. So as we're talking about characters and we're talking about worlds, what we found with a lot of the projects that we did, and the reason why they were so successful, like Tron and Batman, the Star Wars stuff, is that it really allowed us to play in those fantasy spaces that we've always wanted to be in, right? And that is a connection where a lot of the hard work has been done when we're talking about IP that exists, right? Because instantly this idea of, wait, what do you mean? I get to wield a lightsaber and fight Darth Vader?
Right.
I've been wanting to do that since I was 4, right? And so it allows us to do that. It really immerses us in the fact that we can either put Darth Vader in your room, or we can take over your entire environment and you're on the Death Star, right? That is this huge wish fulfillment. And beyond that, what it really does in that space, it's not just about being in that environment, it's really the idea of having agency.
Right. So, and I think that, again, one of the things, going back to Walt Disney's quote about we need people, is that as these platforms come out and they give us the opportunity to create experiences people haven't seen before, there's still a gap between what the public general knowledge about XR is. And I'm talking VR, AR, MR. All of those acronyms mean so much to us, right? But for the general public, there's still a gap. So one of the first things we did is we looked at the fact that, hey, guess what? There's this incredible mixed reality, a capability on mobile phones, mobile devices, whether it's your smartphone or your tablet. So what can we do right now? So as kind of an experiment in looking into how we can create MR experiences, we took a very beloved IP, the Batman IP, and we created an experience called the Arkham Asylum Files. And we did a lot of research talking about how do we migrate the general public into our knowledge of the potential of MR. And one of the things that we did is we created a physical box that has 100 pieces, because people still want to feel and touch things. But the magic of augmented reality or mixed reality, looking through a mobile device onto a physical thing, still has an incredible magical impact.
So we're gonna show you what that looks like. And for any of you guys who haven't seen it, videos don't do it justice, but we're going to show you one anyway. Come down and visit us in the booth. We have a bunch of our team members there, people you can talk to, and they'll demo it live, and you can sort of see the magic. But I think to what Susan's saying is that AR for the general public is still a very abstract idea. So yes, I use this example all the time, is that we can put a 10-foot or 100-foot T-Rex in your space, and people think that's really interesting for about 30 seconds, right? You hand them a physical object, they build a building, they're interacting with pieces, they're involved in a story, they're trying to piece together a mystery. All of a sudden, that context changes for them, and it's really magic. So let's show what that looks like.
Grab your friends and family and immerse yourself in the mysteries of Gotham City. The Arkham Asylum Files, a new home entertainment experience unlike anything you've ever seen. Discover over 100 game pieces and exclusive collectibles. It's not just a game, it's a portal to adventure. Unleash the fun like never before with Joker Vision. Build Gotham City to uncover all its secrets in your very own home.
The chaos that rocked Gotham City this week finally came to an end.
Unravel an epic, visually stunning Batman story featuring Harley Quinn and Gotham City's most infamous villains.
Can you believe I'm back in Arkham Asylum? Not as a patient, silly. I'm a doctor again. I'm even helping the GCPD crack their biggest cases.
Curious artifacts, mysterious documents, decode diabolical puzzles and challenges as you match wits with the Joker and make Gotham City spring to life in amazing 3D augmented reality. Each adventure is hours of collaborative epic fun. The Arkham Asylum Files, mixed reality adventures.
So that's, you guys can definitely come see it. And it's a little bit more than an experiment. It's a huge license from DC and our partners at Warner Brothers. But we're also transitioning now to our own original content.
Right.
There's so much we can play with. So not only can you see a demo of that downstairs, but we're building out a whole world. And yes, we have started with physical product, but right now we are knee-deep in headset development, and that's really, really exciting, right? And so, we are doing sneak peeks here and there for people, but that whole space, the idea of transitioning from physical, real-world, tangible things that audience can relate to and understand right now, to then watching the growth of the market as people really start adopting headsets, as they really start playing around with mixed reality and XR. That's really what we are all
about.
in.
Last slide, and thank you for your time. We really appreciate it.
All right, thank you, everybody.